Copycat Studios presents Mount Olive Baptist Church in Sapulpa, Reverend Dorico L. Day, pastor.
I want to lift the word on tonight. I shared with you all on last night. I wanted to preach to the men. The Lord, I'm writing 2 books right now. One is dealing with the church, who would want to do this. And the second book I'm writing and almost done with. I should be done with that one before the other. And that is, it's called The Cave. And so this message today, I can't preach all of the cave, all of the book. The book should be out next January, and it's for men. And on how men end up in this thing called a cave. And when men shut down, when they stop talking, when they isolate, it's because they're going through something and they're trying to work some things out. And so I just want to lift up a word to the men on the night. I'm going to ask with every man in the house, would you all stand right quick? Or every man in the house, would you stand? After service today, Brother Pastor, I want to pray for every man, if that's all right. All right. Now, with the rest of you all stand, and matter of fact, before you all stand, would you all help me give these men a hand for being in church on tonight? Stand with me. Grab your Bibles. Let's go to 1 Samuel 22. Verse 1 through 5. 1 Samuel 22, verse 1 through 5. And as we're standing, why don't you look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, if you knew how the Lord was going to bless me, you would take me to dinner tonight. I'm trying not to preach in a hurry tonight. My mama made me some fried chicken on the night. I can't wait for the end because I'm on my way. 2376 West Tecumseh Street. 1 Samuel 22, verse 1 through 5, and the media team of Mount Olive is kind of have it on the screen as well. David left Gad and escaped to the cave of Adullam. When his brothers and his father's household heard about it, they went down to him there. All those who were in the desert or in debt, all those who were in distress or in debt or discontented gathered around him, and he became their commander. About 400 men were with him. From there, David went to Mizpah in Moab and said to the king of Moab, would you let my father and mother come and stay with you until I learn what God would do for me? So he left with the king of Moab, and they stayed with him as long as David was in the stronghold. But the prophet Gad said to David, do not stay in the stronghold. Go into the land of Judah. So David left and went to the forest of Hereth. And I want to talk about for a few minutes on the day, the cave. You may be seated, the cave. I feel a special calling on my life to minister and to help men as much as possible. I was blessed and fortunate to have a man's man to be my dad. And my father was a huge influence inside of my life. And the man that I am today, I owe it not only to the Lord, but I also owe it to my father. But there are so many men in life who are trying to figure things out, trying to work things out. And they have no directions. They have no instruction. They have no mentor. They have no one to help them try to figure this thing out called life. At the funeral today of Chaz, I heard Chauncey get up and say that when he found out that his baby was born with special needs, he said it crippled him because he was already trying to figure out this thing called life. And then after the Lord called home his daughter, he said he's still trying to figure out this thing called life. And if most men are honest on the day, we're trying to figure out manhood. What is a man? You hear women say all the time, be a man. You hear men tell other men, be a man. But what in the world does be a man mean? There's a thing called manhood, or there's a thing called a male. A male is a person who is born with male genitalia. That's the male. That's the difference between the male and the female. And let me say this in the beginning. Man, watch this, was formed. Man was formed. Women were built. Let me say that again. Man was formed. God took the dust. Now notice I use the word dust and not dirt. So you can't do nothing with dust. You wipe off dust. You could do something with dirt. People will buy dirt. They can use dirt. But you can't do nothing with dust. People, you can't sell dust. That's why you can't never get the big head when God blesses you. Because at the end of the day, all you are is dust. God took the dust. He took nothing and he formed man. And from man, he took and he built woman. Anybody know anything about Ford automobiles? When they were first made, you have to understand that there were two types of automobiles. The first type was the car. The other type was the truck. They had different functions. They're the same, but they have different functions. When God formed man, but he built woman. Now watch this word, woman, womb man. Let me try it again. Womb man. She is the one that has a womb. Are y'all listening to me? Which means I don't care how much makeup you put on. I don't care how pretty your dress is. If you don't have a womb, you a man. Some of y'all just caught it. The womb man is the one who's able to carry the fetus, which makes her the female. Friends, it's here where I want to share with you all how God has used me and is using me and other men to help men. When you deal with here inside of 1 Samuel chapter 22, you discover there's a man by the name of David. David, man after God's own heart, wrote many of the Psalms that you find in the hymn book of Psalms. This man is on the run, and he has lost almost everything. And he's at a place in his life where he has no other place to go but this place called the cave. David ends up in the cave all by himself. Because when men are trying to figure things out, they don't want to be bothered by nobody. Many of y'all are married to a man that has this thing called a man cave. And in that man cave, it has a television, it may have a phone, it may have a pool table, but there's one rule in the man cave. No women allowed. I don't need you to clean it up. It's the man cave. And I'm not just talking about a man cave where men have inside their home. I'm talking about a cave where men mentally go inside of their mind because things have gone awry. How do men end up in this cave? When David ended up in this cave, he had no one, his mother and father, in hiding, along with his sisters and brothers. There's a warrant out for his arrest. dead or alive. Matter of fact, the only person he has left in this whole world that he can confide in is his friend by the name of Jonathan. And I want to say this to you, every man needs a friend. Do you all not know that men commit suicide 3 times as much as women? In the month of March, when I was preaching this sermon series, there was 2 men in 1 week who committed suicide. One man killed his whole family. He was a preacher, and then killed himself. Another man just killed himself in his living room, and his wife and children walked in, who was a member of the church where I serve as pastor in Dallas. That's where they found him. They can't even live in the house anymore. They're trying to sell it. I remember after hearing about these 2 men, one a member of the church where I serve, and the other one associate of the school that my daughters attend, I remember calling up my 4 friends, and I said to my 4 friends who went to college together, I said to them, if you ever get to a point in your life where you think life is too rough and you're about to take your own life, just call me. I don't care how messed up the situation is. I don't care how embarrassing it is for you. Call me. Now, many of us, I see the women saying, yeah, but men just sitting there looking, because we know it's hard to trust people. And here's the deal. I have one rule as a friend. If I can't tell you the truth, you can't be my friend. I can see some of y'all don't have no real friends in the whole wide world. If I can't tell you the truth, you can't be my friend. How are we going to be friends when we faking it with one another? How are we going to be friends when I can't tell you that I'm hurting? How can we be friends when I can't tell you what I'm going through? Friends, I want you to understand, men, I want you to understand that 50 years ago, 70 years ago, a man was a man because of the roles he had. Are y'all listening? A man was a man because of the roles he had. What were the roles that a man had? A man provided. Yeah. A man went out and got the job. A man brought home what we call the bacon. The woman then took the bacon and cooked it. A man provided the house. The woman made it a home. Are y'all gonna pray with me today? The man provided the child. The woman raised and reared the child. It was a give and take relationship. But today, the roles have changed. Are y'all gonna pray with me tonight? What do you mean the roles have changed? The roles have changed because on today, the man ain't the only one bringing home the bacon. Yeah, you dating a woman to make twice as much as you make. Married to a woman making it twice as much as you make. She says, be a man. You live in a house with this woman. Your daddy say, put down your foot. And you say, daddy, it ain't my flow. It's her house. Rico, you can't put down your foot. I wish I had one witness. You say, she say, be a man. You say, okay, you make more money than me. It's your house. I give you a child. She tell you, I already got 2. I'm gonna let y'all figure that one out. You talking to a ready-made family. Everything that it took to make your granddaddy a man and your daddy a man won't take to make you a man. And so the woman keeps saying, be a man, be a man, be a man, be a man. And the only thing you know, because you can't provide the bacon, you can't provide the house, you can't provide the kids because you already has those things. So the only thing you know to make you a man is anger. You put your hands on it to prove I'm a man. People ask the question, why are men so angry? Because the roles have changed and nobody told us. But men, I want y'all to listen to me tonight. You a man if you got money or not. Let me tell you something. When my wife found me, she didn't make me no man. She found a man. If I leave this revival tonight and go home to Dallas and say I lost my job, I'm still a man. Still a man. House don't make you a man. Money in your pocket don't make you a man. Degrees on your wall don't make you a man. Being able to provide kids don't make you a man. You're a man because God called you a man. That's why it make you a man. See, and in order for you to understand the purpose of the man, you have to go back to the original design. God called the man. He placed man in Genesis chapter 2, verse 16. He placed man in this place called Eden. I'm going to come back to that at the end. He placed him in Eden to do several things. One, to cultivate. Help me say cultivate. That means to make something better. He put him in Eden, not only to cultivate, he put him in Eden to work. Help me say work. Every man need a job. I'm waiting. And he put man in the garden to instruct. It was Adam's responsibility to tell Eve not to eat of the forbidden fruit. What God said is those were the purpose of the man. Now, here's the deal. On today, we have people trying to get man to live outside of its purpose. This microphone has a purpose. Now, you can play drums with the microphone. But that ain't its purpose. You can play catch with the microphone. But that's not its purpose. And what's happening on the day, men are operating outside of your purpose. You find your masculinity in your purpose. Like I said, I can't preach all 4 sermons or all 4 chapters of this book in this one sermon, but I'm just trying to cross my way through the field so y'all can understand the purpose of a man. You could take a motorcycle and tell that motorcycle to pull 10,000 tons. You're going to mess that motorcycle up because it wasn't built, wasn't created for that. And so when you have men who are doing, operating outside of their purpose. And let me say this real quick. Many times y'all heard people say the women's place is in the kitchen. But when you read the Bible, you'll find out more men did more cooking than the women. Y'all remember Jacob? He was the cook. Y'all remember Jesus? After he rose from the dead and disciples out there fishing and they got to shore, Jesus. So you act like the woman's the only place. No, that's not. You can get your behind in the kitchen too. But I want you to understand that the roles have changed when it comes to man. What made your grandfather a man and what made your dad a man today, because the roles have changed and nobody has told us. That's why men are so frustrated. And I just want you all to understand before I move on to this sermon. And that is your purpose is found in God. I'll talk about that in a minute. Your purpose is found in God. David, this man ends up inside the cave. And the question is, how do men end up in the cave? Let me give you all some reasons of how men end up in the cave. Are y'all ready? Nobody's ready. Let's try it again. Are y'all ready? Men end up in the cave. Let's talk about David. David ended up in the cave because he lost his job. King Saul fired him. He was over his army. King Saul fired him. And let me tell you something. When men have money problems, they shut down. I need some men to talk back to me. Now, if you find a man that's comfortable being broke, you got the wrong man. Most men I know, they're not comfortable being broke. They may be broke, but they're not comfortable being broke. Not only was David broke, when you find out these 400 men that met him in the cave, the Bible said they were in debt, which meant they ended up in the cave because they were in debt. And that's in chapter 2 of my book. See, these men, they left their families. 400 men, we find out later on in 1 Samuel that these 400 men had wives and kids. But they left them. Why did these 400 men leave their wives and kids? Because they got tired, possibly, of their wife nagging about the money. Listen, what Solomon says. Solomon says, I'd rather be on the rooftop than in the house. Y'all ain't hearing me. With a nagging woman. Now, y'all missing it. Y'all missing it. Solomon said, I'd rather be on the rooftop in the house by myself. That was his case. Than in a home with a nagging woman. Choo, what do you mean by that? Solomon, don't forget, he was the richest man that ever lived. People, archaeologists said that the temple that Solomon built today would have cost $2 billion, and Solomon's house was 3 times as big as the temple. He had plenty of money. He had plenty of houses. But he said, when this woman gets to nagging me, I'd rather be on the rooftop. Last year, me and my mom went over to Israel. And let me tell you, it's hot in Israel. And at that time, they had clay roofs, so which means that you are cooking. But Solomon said, I'd rather be cooking on the rooftop than in the house. With a nagging woman. 400 men end up in this cave. Money will make you go in the cave. Not only money will make you go in the cave, David lost his wife. The king, Saul, took his wife and gave her to another man. When men are going through marital issues, we'll end up in the cave. We'll shut down. We'll stop talking. You know, why ain't you talking to me? It's not you. It's us. We're trying to figure some stuff out. Now, women, some of y'all can't understand this because you all are used to talking your problems through. Men, we think our problems through. Not only that, David also lost his credibility. Saul has a bounty out on his arrest. David lost his reputation. When men go through scandal, they end up in the cave. Let me say this. Why do men go in the cave? Men go in the cave for several reasons. Number one, they're trying to figure things out. David's trying to figure out why he lost his job. Many men try to figure out why they lost their job. Many men try to figure out why they lost their wife. How did I go through this divorce? How did I lose the affection of my wife? How did I lose the attention of my wife? My wife who at one time loved me and adored me. Now somehow, some way, the thrill is gone. And some men try to figure out when they're going through scandal. Now, David was innocent of his, but some of us have not been. We try to figure out, how can I been so stupid? Or we try to figure out, what's our next step? But let me tell you, the cave is a good place for some men. Can I tell y'all why? This is right there in the text. The cave is a good place for men to be. Why is the cave a good place for men to be? First of all, it's a good place for men to be because we can hear from God. It was the prophet Gad that talked to David When men are in the cave, if they're wise or they're smart, they'll talk to God. I want y'all to understand is here in this cave where David wrote 3 Psalms. I'm going to get to these Psalms in a minute. David wrote 3 Psalms in this cave. In the cave of Adullam, when you read the hymn book of Psalms, you'll find in Psalms 142, David wrote a psalm, and it's a nothing but a pity me, a woe is me psalm. Nobody cares about me. Verse 4, nobody's concerned about me. Nobody cares if I live or if I die. That's all found in Psalms 142. It's a woe is me psalm. Now, you all know a psalm is nothing but a prayer put to music. Secondly, the second psalm he wrote was Psalms 57. And he moves from him to God. He says in verse 1, be exalted, O God, be exalted, O Lord. So he moves in the psalm. In the first psalm is woe is me. Second psalm, he takes his attention off of himself and he puts his attention on his God. Lord, be exalted. I know you're in the cave. I know I'm in the cave. Will be exalted. The third psalm he wrote was Psalms 34 while he was in the cave of Adullam. And in the cave of Adullam, in Psalm 34, it says, I will bless the Lord at all times, and his praise shall continually be in my mouth. My soul shall make a boast of the Lord. The humble shall hear thereof and be glad. Oh, magnify the Lord with me, and let us exalt his name. It's here in this cave where it's good for a man to be in a cave. 1, he can try to figure some things out. 2, he can hear from God. But 3, it's a good place for some men to be in the cave because it's in the cave where you can help somebody else. I know y'all don't want to hear that part. It's because when we're going through what we're going through, we like having a pity party. David is in this cave. He goes to the cave, watch this, all by himself. He goes to the cave of Adullam by himself. I don't want to be by nobody. I don't want to hear from nobody. And on top of that, King Saul is out to kill me. So I'm in the cave by myself trying to figure out what my next move is going to be. And then watch what God does. God sends to him 400 other men, watch this, who are distressed, in debt, and discontented. Now, I don't know about you, but whenever I'm going through what my trials and my tribulations, the last thing I need is anybody else going through the same thing. Y'all ain't gonna pray with me. That I'm going through. They were distressed. They were going through hardship. They were in debt, which means they broke. Now, when I'm broke, I don't need no homeboys around me that's broke. That don't go together. And then the Bible said they were discontented. They were unhappy with the way things were. Now, David could have easily said, man, look, there's not enough room. He could have easily said, y'all go find your own cave. But let me tell you this, God knows exactly what he's doing. God knows exactly who to bring you when you're in your cave. David could have sat there and had a pity party, but that's not what he did. David took the time in that cave to help somebody else. Choo, what do you mean by this? Well, you got to find out in 2 Samuel when David becomes king. David, do you know when he had his cabinet? Do you know the people he used in his cabinet when he became king? Those 400 men that was with him when he had nothing, when he was a nobody, when he was broke, when he was busted, when he disgusted, when he was in the cave. And let me tell you this, whenever God takes me to where he's going to take me, I don't try to get new folk. I try to get the people who were there with me when I was in my struggle, those who cried with me, those who struggled with me, those who hurt with me, those who helped me.
Yep. Man.
That's what David did. David took the time. What I love about David is that in that cave of Adullam, these 400 men who were distressed, in debt, discontented, they had no skills. So what does David do who slayed Goliath? What does David do who was the commander of the army of Israel? What does he do? He shows these men how to use a sword. He showed these men how to fight. And when you get to the end of David's life, you'll read twice who these 400 men were. These 400 men were some bad men. One of the men went into a cave on a snowy day and defeated a lion. One of the men defeated 800 men. One of the men defeated 3 giants. Now, at the end of David's life, David is fighting a giant and he gets winded because he's not the David in 1 Samuel chapter 17 that's young and vibrant. He's not that same David. He gets winded and the giants get ready to kill him. And do you know who saves him? One of the men who was in the cave that he taught how to fight. Not just how to fight, he taught him how to defeat a giant. What am I saying to you leaders? What I'm telling you leaders is, listen, you got to take time to train somebody else. Because you never know when you're going to get winded. You never know when you're going to get tired. And you never know when somebody's going to have to step in. If David never would have taught them in the cave, been a dead duck. I want to share this with you all. The next time you're inside your cave, why don't you ask the Lord, who do you want me to help? Let me tell you this, and I'm going to leave you. When I was going through my struggle at St. John, I went to court, and business meeting after business meeting, it was just hard. I was embarrassed. I would go to restaurants, and people I didn't even know come and shake my hand, Pastor Baily, I'm praying for you. And I'm like, how in the world do you know? I'm just going through a hard time, and I'm so embarrassed. I don't want to come out my house, and I'm just, woe is me. I'm mad with God because, God, I didn't come to Dallas for this. I could have gone other places. And I remember a pastor called me on the phone and said, Choo, I'm going through a hard time. He was in Dayton, Ohio. He said, can you come up here and talk to my leaders? He flies me up there to talk to his leaders. I get back, another pastor calls me down in Houston, Choo, I'm going through a hard time at my church. Can you come help me? I drive down to Houston and help him. Another pastor in Dallas said, Choo, Pastor Baily, I know that when you get through with your service, man, I would appreciate it if you just come over and talk to my folk. Just tell them about your story. About over a dozen churches from across this nation has called me in to consult them. Because God took my mess and made it my message. You got to learn how to help somebody else. Stop complaining, stop having fits, stop having temper tantrums, and just say, Lord, point me to the person you want me to help. I got to leave you when I tell you this. I told you, not only did David teach him how to fight, but David also had to teach him how to worship, because in that cave, when David wrote those 3 Psalms, they must have thought on the second 2 Psalms, David had lost his mind. They must have thought it, especially when he got to Psalm 34 and says, I will bless the Lord at all times. Can't you hear him singing that psalm inside of that cave with those 400 men? I'll bless the Lord at all times. And I can hear them saying, you in the cave, I'll bless the Lord at all times. You ain't got no job, I'll bless the Lord At all times. Your wife is going, I bless the Lord. At all times. You don't have no house. I bless the Lord. At all times. And his praise shall continually be in my mouth. I told you I got to come back to that eating thing real quick, and I'm leaving you. I told you all in Genesis chapter 2, verse 16, the first thing God did when he made man, when he formed man, was he put man in Eden. I need y'all to help me say eating. Help me say work. Help me say cultivate. Help me say protect. Help me say instruct. Men, if you want to know your 5 purposes, is eating. Help me say eating. Work. Cultivate. Let me just say what cultivate right quick. Cultivate is to bring out the best in something. When God put Adam inside of Eden, when he put him in the garden, it was to bring out the best of it. So let me tell you something, men, real fast. Men, God is never going to bring you a complete woman. Your job is to cultivate. Which means if you're married to a woman and she's not what you want her to be, that's your fault. Cultivate. If you don't like the way your wife dress, cultivate her. Take her to Dillard's. And you spend your money, not her money. Women are here, help me say, cultivate me, baby. Help cultivate. Spend your money. Then to protect. It was Adam's responsibility to protect Eve, then instruct her. But the first thing God did, and I'm done, the first thing God did was he took Adam in Genesis chapter 2, verse 16, and he placed him in Eden. Now, the word Eden in the Hebrew is a complicated word. Eden means place. It means spot. It means presence. Let me say that again. It means place. It means spot. And it means presence. So, friends, I want you to understand the reason why archaeologists and scientists cannot find Eden, because Eden is a spot. It's a presence. Which means everywhere Adam went, that spot was in the presence of God. Let me try that one more time. Everywhere Adam went, that spot, that place was in the presence of God. Which men, you don't need a woman to make you a man. You don't need a job to make you a man. You don't need a car to make you a man. You need Eden to make you a man. The first thing God did with Adam was put Adam in God's presence. Every man needs to be in the presence of God. Every father, every husband, every son, every brother needs to be in the presence of God. Every man. That's what happened when David was in that cave. Because he realized this cave needs some eating. It's too dark inside of here. It's too damp inside of here. It's too muggy inside of here. This cave needs some eating. This spot needs God's presence. I will bless the Lord at all times, and his praise shall continually be in my mouth. Oh, magnify the Lord with me. He was telling me, you don't have to, but I'm inviting you to. Oh, magnify the Lord with me, and let us exalt his name together. I sought the Lord, and he found me. Is there anybody here ever been in the cave? And you turn that cave into your Eden? That spot became God's presence. Oh, I come by to tell you on tonight, wherever you are, man, whoever you are, I dare you right now. If you find yourself in a cave, oh, magnify the Lord with me. Don't let me praise him by myself. Oh, magnify the Lord with me. Don't let me worship him by myself. Oh, magnify the Lord with me. Hey, is there anybody here who's going to help me praise him? Is there anybody here who's going to help me turn this spot into God's presence? It was after the third song that God turned David's world around. And I come by to tell you, when you praise him, he'll turn your situation around. When you praise him, he'll turn your money around. When you praise him, he'll turn your family around. When you praise him, he'll turn your enemies around. When you praise him, he'll turn your heart and mind around. Oh, magnify the Lord with me. Will you help me praise him? Will you help me give him glory? Shout glory. Shout hallelujah. Shout worthy. Shout hallelujah. What is the highest praise? Hallelujah. Somebody's sick, but I dare you, invoke God's presence and watch God step in. Won't he step in? Won't he turn it around? Won't he pick you up? Won't he dry your tears? Won't he make ends meet? Praise him. Praise him. Praise him. Praise him. Praise him. Praise him. Oh, yes, Jesus. Blessed. He's worthy. Come on, say it like you mean it. Praise him. Oh, yes, praise him. Oh, what's his name? Blessed Savior. Yeah. From the right, until the going. I can't hear y'all. I can't hear you. You want to sing it like you mean it. He's worthy. Jesus. Hey, he's worthy. Hey, praise him. Yeah, praise him. If he's been good to you, praise him. If he brought you through, praise him. What's his name? Blessed Savior. Yeah, 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 yeah. From the rock. Yeah. Come on, lift it up, children. All the same. He's worthy. Jesus is worthy. Yeah, he's worthy. Hey, glory. I dare you shout glory in all things. Give him glory, give him glory, give him glory, give him glory. Jesus, blessed Savior, he's worthy. Come on, help me say, glory! Hey! In all things, you got to give it to him. Give it to him. Jesus, blessed Savior, he's worthy. Wait a minute. I got to leave you. But this song here hit home with me a month after my father passed. The church where I was leading as pastor, St. John, they started singing this song, praise him. I was good. Praise him. But they got to that verse and said, glory. Glory, which means give him the credit. Then it says, in all things. Now that messed me up. Because that meant I had to praise him in my grief. I had to praise him in my tears. I had to praise him in my bereavement. But I found out the more I praised him, the better I felt. The more I praise him, the better yeah! He's worthy. Yeah! Come on, one last time, one last time. Help me say glory! Glory! In all things, give him glory. Can you help me shout, Jesus? What's his name? What's his name? He's worthy.
This is a Copycat Studios production.